Hey Ruby, can you hear me? I was about sending you the link via Telegram.
Hey, yep. No worries.
How are you? It's last session and I was about like to fall. Yeah, I'm dying now. How are
yeah,
you?
no,
Yeah, long time we didn't talk, and yeah, it's a great pleasure to meet you after this long time. And thank you
yeah.
so much for accepting my invitation.
No. Of course, I'm so proud of you. I've been looking at everything that you've been doing from afar, and you're just doing everything. So
Well, you was like you were the fire at the beginning. You brought us from around the world and connected us together and give us like a good opportunity like to see what's going on outside, and it's not impossible to do to make the change. And yeah, this, to be honest, these kind of activities came to my mind after DevCon, as well as, to be honest, as well after I was about to join ETH Berlin, but I couldn't because of the visa. I couldn't get the visa. And
no.
when I returned back, I was like, what if we have the same kind of activities where all the Arab community can connect together? And yeah, I was lucky to find a partner who like crazy like me to make it. Although it's like a pilot project now. We did mistakes, of course, but we didn't sleep for days. But yeah, we make it. Alhamdulillah. Finally, I'm about to die.
No. It's a very difficult thing to do, and I'm just so proud of what you've accomplished.
I've been organizing events since Saturday, and
Wow.
yes, we this is the third event we have. Okay, let me
Wow.
give you until the audience can, because the session time is not. We have like a couple of minutes.
Okay.
We started the week, the Arab Blockchain Week. I wanted to be exactly as I saw in DevCon and as I saw online on Eastburn and so.
Hmm.
So we started the week by like sharing or increasing the awareness about the culture of what is blockchain week and how it should look like. So we organized three main events. The first one was blockchain 101 in Arabic, full day in Arabic from 9 half a.m. Egypt time to 6 p.m. All Arabic sessions from different countries. So it's not only from Egypt or from Saudi Arabia or so. We have people from Palestine, from Morocco, from Tunisia, from Jordan, from Lebanon, and so. And this was entirely in Arabic and for absolute beginner. And the second day was Blockchain Researcher Day. It's like an initiative to support blockchain researcher in the Arab world and connect them to the global community. So we had some scholar like I invited the Francis. He like give an amazing session about the research he has done, and we have invited some blockchain researcher from the global community from different universities from Mexico, UK, and we had like our Arab researchers give
Hmm.
some talks in Arabic. And the third event was the Arab EmTech and Startup Conference. This is the second version from it. And in this version, we had three parallel sessions at the same time. And we could like make lots of community partners, so lots of invite lots of we had like first time. This is the first time in this conference to make both Arabic sessions and an English session, so that anyone has a language barrier can attend session in Arabic, and anyone want to connect to the global community and expert in the global community and he doesn't have any language barrier, he can attend the English session. And we've been organizing the conference for 3 days.
Wow.
Three
That's a
days, three
lot.
various sessions per day from 9:30 a.m. Egypt time to 6 and yeah 6 or 5:30 p.m. And we are a small team. To be honest, it's a very small team, and yeah, we could survive.
Well, you're doing it. You're doing it, and I only see this getting bigger which is
And
great.
you did it before me. You could like invite and bring more than 50 scholars around the globe and give them the access to travel to Osaka, Japan, which is something is not easy. And I returned it back with lots of friends. By the way, we have still Ruhanda is my friend, and lots of scholars from this opportunity. Look, you did it before me. You did an amazing. You always do amazing things. By the way, Robbie.
I appreciate that. I'm trying. I'm just trying to keep up with y'all.
Same here. I'm just trying as well.
I'm just trying to keep up.
I'm just following your steps.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let me know. Let me know when I should get started. Should I get started and share my
Just a
screen?
couple of minutes back only. We don't have any session after you. Just a couple of minutes because some session is ending now, and this is one of the mistakes we done. We should like give 5 minutes buffer between each session because we don't even have time to like drink some water. We like checking the speaker is coming or not, ending the session with the speaker and quickly jumping in another session, and speaker are complaining because he's waiting for 1 minute and we didn't open the session yet.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. No worries. Just let me know, and I'll start whenever y'all need.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, another speaker is complaining that he's waiting. Okay, I think we can start now because like Chris from the Ethereum Foundation he has he's just ending his session, and I guess like more the lots of some attendees are there and they are interested to join your session as well.
Okay.
Okay,
Excellent.
we can go.
Could you enable?
Yeah, I will make you a co-host right now.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Everyone see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen. I can hear you very well.
Excellent. Well, one, really appreciate being invited to this, and hopefully this is helpful. I've as an introduction, my name is Robbie Greenfield. I've been in the blockchain space for 10 years now. And over the past 4 to 5 years, I've been specifically focused on the intersection of technology and social impact. So I have deployed a lot of blockchain-based applications with major aid agencies around the world, including UN agencies, but also major NGOs like Oxfam International, Red Cross, CARE International, and others. And so, I'm super passionate about, how we can leverage blockchain in the way that I think we all kind of wanted to use it in the first place, which is to, eliminate barriers, of access to a lot of different things, not just financial things, but just make, systems fairer overall. So today I want to just go over a few use cases. Feel free to interrupt at any time, and ask questions. I prefer not to talk at people. So, if you have any questions or even comments, certainly let me know. So right now, I'm the CEO of Emerging Impact. I was a co-founder of Consensus Social Impact, which was the social sector practice of Consensus. And, over my journey, myself, along with my co-founders, we've worked in 17 plus countries. 85% of our employees are people of color. And that last 15% is from the LGBTQ plus community, so extremely diverse. And I've seen that make the business better. So never let people tell you that diverse businesses don't do well. And our quote unquote claim to fame was deploying the first humanitarian program using digital currency with Oxfam in 2019, in which we used DAI with Oxfam International in Vanuatu. And we were also awarded the first blockchain grant in U.S. State Department history, focused on empowering Mexican worker voices, working with Levi's in New America. And then lastly, last year, because time is just moving so quickly, we were awarded 1 million euros with Oxfam International and an organization called SEMPO for winning the EU Commission's Horizon Challenge, which is a challenge focused on applying blockchain technology to the social sector, but also to just social impact initiatives more broadly. So that's a little bit about emerging impact. And yeah, I mean, as I said today, we're really going to go over real life use cases. I know that you all have probably seen a lot of theory as to, what blockchain is and what cryptocurrency is and how, maybe it can be applied. So I think it's really, really important to see in real life, how are these things developing, but also to focus on where are the gaps, where can you play an important role and create solutions. And I would say even if you see solutions that you're like, oh man, I was going to do that, I would still follow through with that, entrepreneurial desire, because the MENA region is going to need solutions that are a little bit different from the West, and Southeast Asia is going to need the same solution in a little bit of different way. And there's over 7 billion people on the planet, right, that need some type of help. Very small percentage that are billionaires that don't need any help. But so, that is all to say that it takes a village, right? And not one application or one protocol can solve world hunger or give access to financial services to everyone. So incredibly important that you follow those desires. And so I wanted to kind of map out what emerging impact, sees as blockchain for social impact and what we personally focus on. And it really ranges across financial inclusion, research and learning, and humanitarian and aid and development. So financial inclusion, obviously this is one of our strong suits, is how can we go beyond just enabling, people who may be unbanked, people who may not have access to internet or access to data or even access to a smartphone. How can we enable them to have a cogent, inclusive, high quality experience of financial services that works for them? So financial inclusion for us includes everything from micro savings, micro loans, insurance, remittances, micro work, so giving people income generating opportunities, in ways that are robust enough so that they don't have to have a laptop or they don't have to have an iPhone. So super, super important there. But also allowing them to create their own financial applications that are culturally relevant to their communities, right? And not just saying, oh, why don't you use PayPal or Venmo, which are just Western applications, right? They might not map to what's culturally relevant in that particular community. The second is research and learning. So I am like addicted to creating protocol white papers, understanding different ways that blockchain is being used by other organizations. And so I would say, if you're new to the space, just read as much as you can. Go on Medium and other places and just learn, because what you're going to start to see are patterns of how people are using technology, and you can take parts of ideas to create your own solution, right? It's been said before, everything in this world is already thought of, right? I think the best entrepreneurs just take little parts and kind of create their own collage as to, the impact that they want to create. And then, of course, last is humanitarian and development aid. So this is, how can you leverage it, particularly in the context of humanitarian aids? This is crypto fundraising, cash transfer and vouchers, health, livelihoods, education, etc. So we're just going to get right into it. The first use case, that I'd worked on really in my entire blockchain for social impact life, save one project, was with Hala Systems. And Hala Systems, they develop advanced solutions for civilian and asset protection, particularly in Syria. And what they do is that they have human observers, but they also have IoT sensors throughout Syria and throughout Turkey to ensure that human rights aren't being taken advantage of, and to also ensure that they can collect evidence to basically, accuse the Assad regime of war crimes, or anyone who is doing anything bad in that area of war crimes. And so one issue that they had is that for their digitally collected evidence, like if they had a device that could pick up sound and it picked up gunshots, right, in a particular neighborhood, and they wanted to use that piece of evidence, that audio recording in the International Crimes Court, to say this person was shooting at this person and they shouldn't have been doing it. The person who they're going to be accusing can always say, oh, that's fabricated, right? Especially in today's world where you can literally make a video with somebody else's face, right? And make it sound like they're saying things that they never said. So it was really frustrating to them because they're like, guys, this is not, this is real evidence. This is something that we really took in this town. So our job with them was, how can we prove and make tamper-proof digital evidence, right? How can we prove that evidence hasn't been touched at all? And so this was a really, really simple project of just verifying the authenticity of their data and just hashing or creating a unique signature, like a fingerprint of each of their digital recordings, so that if it was tampered with, that fingerprint would change, right? It would be different from what it was. And then it would be very easy to say, okay, yes, this was tampered with. It's not what it originally was, because look at the fingerprint, it changed. But now, they can go to International Criminal Court and be like, no, guys, look, it has not changed. Even if we got this recording 20 years ago, we can still go into court confidently and say that this is the original recording, or this is the original piece of evidence. So that's, a very simple use case that you're going to see recurring over the different use cases that we talk about, but one that has like a lot of impact. So even doing very simple things and just enabling companies or people to take advantage of blockchain technology in those ways can be incredibly impactful. The second, this one I wasn't as involved with, but it is one that Consensus did with Viant, who is now called Truum. And this was a supply chain traceability use case, right? So making sure that you can see, what is happening across the supply chain every step of the way. And what was really, really cool about this one is this is one of the first times blockchain technology was used to show a transparent supply chain in a global sense, right? So they caught fish in Fiji and they shipped that fish all the way to New York. And they proved that that fish not only was from Fiji, but was from specific farmers. And you might be wondering, okay, that's, okay, like, well, why is that important? It's important because in a lot of cases, particularly in commercial supply chains, in the people who create the value, the fishers, the farmers, are typically people that live in lower socioeconomic status communities or under-resourced communities. And they're oftentimes not paid what they should be paid for the value that they're creating, right? So they may be paid 10 cents per fish they catch, when that tuna is going to be sold for $10, right, in New York. And so there's a lot of imbalances. There's a lot of human rights abuses, right? Particularly if the person is from, what would be called, or what would be considered an emerging market. And so to protect them from these abuses, we need mechanisms to make supply chains transparent, right? Make companies accountable and say, hey, this one partner that you have in their supply chain that deals with this farmer or deals with this fisherman is treating them unfairly. And so the Bait to Plate initiative, show that you can use blockchain technology practically to create 100% transparency at every step of the way when you're trying to get fish in one place and serve it to others, or trying to get any product, for that matter, and serve it to others. So I think it was extremely pivotal to showing to the corporate side of the blockchain space what was possible. And this one, so very, very much like Hala Systems, was a collaborative healthcare solutions. I believe they've changed their name since, but still very much doing the same thing. And this was effectively trying to create transparent sexual assault reporting data. So for context, and this is obviously a global problem, the harm to women just around the world, unfortunately, but specifically in the United States, there is a huge lack of accountability to basically, police taking sex crime seriously. So that's sexual assaults, that's rape, anything, regarding, inappropriate sexual conduct, right, would be considered a sex crime. And oftentimes these crimes are disregarded in some cases, or they're just completely left uninvestigated, right? So they will take the evidence from the woman, or the person, doesn't necessarily always have to be a woman, the person who was assaulted. And it's a very emotional process, right? Because you have to take off your clothes that you were assaulted in, you have to get swabs done. And this is very shortly after the assault took place. So you're traumatized, right? You don't necessarily want to take your clothes off, because you just feel you're vulnerable. And so a police officer or an investigator to do all of that, and then you never hear back from them, adds to that trauma, right? So, how can we create more accountability for police to actually take this, into consideration, to take it seriously? So much like what we did with HALA systems, but also in a way what we did with the World Wildlife Fund, this showed where that evidence was in the process for the survivor, so that they could say, hey, it's been in the beginning process for 2 weeks, what's going on, right? But also so that, law enforcement can't lie about where it is in the process. So super, super important. It also makes sure that the sexual assaults evidence is not tampered with, just like in the HALA situation, right? Because in some cases, and these are some of the worst cases, not saying that this is typical, but in some cases, you have law enforcement officers who are the people who are responsible for the sexual assault, right? So sometimes you do have vested interests to change the information. So this one is really near and dear to my heart. We did this in Oakland. I think is incredibly, incredibly important. And I don't see enough startups that leverage blockchain technology in this way to protect marginalized communities, obviously primarily women, because at least in the United States, they are the ones that survive the vast majority of sexual assault. This is my favorite one. So Project Unblock Cash. This was the first digital currency humanitarian aid program in the world. We used DAI, and we proved that you can, in areas that have low internet access, low data access, in some cases, low literacy, reading and writing literacy, you still can use blockchain technology in ways that people are completely unaware, right? That, they don't know what DAI is, they don't really know what blockchain technology is, but it doesn't matter because it works, right? And it works within their environment. And in this case, we used an application called Sempo to disperse the money, and used NFC cards, so like plastic cards, for people to receive it, and then they go to their shops and they use it just like we would use a debit card or a credit card, right? And you would imagine like, oh, okay, well, that's not anything fancy, right? But it's so important, because you're talking about a community that is mostly unbanked, that hasn't had any money account. In this specific situation, many people would put their money under their couches, right? So, an incredible story. Certainly, if you Google Project Unblock Cash, there's actually a video, a documentary that we kind of created around the whole process, and you can actually see the people. Very much recommend that you watch that. And we also put out a case study as well. So if you want the case study, I know that it's online on my old website on Consensus Social Impact, but you can also just reach out to me, and I can send it to you. We'll skip this one for now. I want to go into impact opportunities. Impact opportunities more generally is like, okay, these are things that have been done, but there's still a lot more to do, right? As you all know, the world is kind of on a timeline, right? There are a lot of things that are happening. We're not really using our resources sustainably as a planet. And, there's global crises occurring more recurrently because of that. So obviously, I think the first, in my view, is the carbon credit, and really just the environmental commodities market. And unfortunately, we use a lot of mechanisms that aren't really impactful to protecting the environment. and ones that are really, really old, right? So I'll give you a perfect example. I actually went through the process of registering a carbon credit, right? So carbon offset just means that, you've created some sustainable project and it has avoided, 1 metric ton of carbon emissions, right? So that project has helped the planet in some way. And you want to now sell this, offset that you've generated, right? Kind of this metric of impact that you've generated to a company so that they can say, okay, even though we've polluted this much, it's this much minus this one offset that we bought, right? And that's why it's called an offset. It offsets companies' pollution. But I mean, the process was so analog. I literally had to write a physical letter in 2021, and I had to mail it to New York and wait like 4 weeks just to open an account. So this is an area that just needs modernization in general, but it's also very opaque. And because it's opaque, there's a lot of fraud within the carbon credit market, and that's what makes it ineffective. Sometimes carbon credits and offsets are double counted, meaning that you're only supposed to be able to sell an offset once, right? You're not supposed to be able to sell it a million times, just like you can't sell the same Bitcoin once. And a lot of that doesn't exist. So I think there's a lot of protocol potential here, but also a lot of application potential too. The second is microfinance. This is where emerging impact is focused on. So this is not just increasing access to financial services, but enabling emerging market entrepreneurs to build their own financial tools, which I find incredibly important. If you look at East Africa, for example, half of the startups in Rwanda and Tanzania are from expat nations. They're from the West, and that's not how it should be, right? Countries and the people within those locales should feel empowered and have access to resources to build their own applications for their own communities. Because what happens is you have like this technology kind of neo-colonialism, right? Where people abroad are using systems built from people from somewhere else that don't understand those communities as well, that don't, identify with the problems that they're dealing with. Sometimes they don't even speak the language that they speak, right? So this is something that I find incredibly important, is like, how can you build infrastructure to enable others to build more easily so that they might not need to know what blockchain is or what smart contracts are, et cetera. So super, super important. And I think the last but not least, and this is I think is what's gonna really change the world most, is the tokenization of emerging market fiat currencies. So this, is now called central bank digital currencies, right? So, what does, tokenized Naira look like, or a Naira token, or what does a peso token, from Mexico look like? And what does the world look like when, pretty much every national currency is digitized and we can send it in exchange between them in an instant? A lot of nations, are just starting this journey. But what I've noticed is that they need help. They need smart people like you to help them, one, understand what blockchain is, but then two, build systems that, can scale across millions and millions of people, and that are secure. So huge opportunities here as well, to help, even your own, nation, do thinking around this, or if they've already done thinking, finding a way to be a part of that. Because I guarantee you it's going to be one of those things that's like, this is like an incremental moment in history that you can play a part of. So of course, last but not least, there's always obstacles, unfortunately. And I'll go very quickly through them. Ambiguous regulatory landscape, right? The laws in a lot of countries are not clear as to, one, which cryptocurrencies are securities or not, two, whether you can even create applications that use cryptocurrencies in any way, whether people can own them. I think anytime you make a startup or you're thinking about an idea, make sure to look at what's the current state of the law, or what are the legal opinions within your locale. And if you are coming from the law community, or you want to be a paralegal or a lawyer, then do that thought leadership, do your own research, put out your own opinions, be a part of that conversation, and help, transform, what your country sees and thinks about blockchain technology. Second is that the user experience design of a lot of decentralized applications is awful, really bad. It's important that it it work just like old applications that don't use the blockchain technology. So super, super important there. But also it's important that it can be used by people with disabilities. It can be used by, you know, in areas that lack internet sometimes. So having a really robust application that can work through all those different environments, I think is going to make it an even better one that more people can use. And then of course, the last two are, one, governments creating, you know, environments where people can fail, where people can test, you know, the legal limitations without going to jail, right? I think it's important to have some space, you know, of innovation and leverage that space to help you determine, okay, we probably don't want to do this, but we can do this. And also just create partnerships, right? But yes, you know, I wanted to quickly go through this, you know, just because I wanted to open up the conversation. But if any time you have a question, certainly reach out to us. You can just, it's team at Emerging Impact, and we're also on Twitter as well. But yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Robbie, so much. To be honest, it's a very amazing presentation. I love it most. And when you are like explaining the beginning, I was like writing some notes, some questions for you to prepare. But the last couple of slides you have illustrated the challenges that we have. I think it's answered all my questions. But let's see if some of the audience have any question or want to give a feedback or interact. Feel free to unmute yourself. I will check the website as well, because we have two chats. I have to say this sentence with each speaker. We have two chats, the first one on the website and the second one on the in the Zoom. Just a minute. I just want to like comment about the example you have provided for social impact of using blockchain to protect women, and so I guess some of these projects, one of the main challenges that has the culture, because if here in the Arab world, yes, we have the same problem, and Egypt has a lot of these problems, but as a woman, to say that you have faced this kind of insult, or someone you just wearing the near not wearing, you don't just in the situation, you just know someone in the situation. It's like what's called I forgot, but something not good, you know. It's yeah, you have to hide it, and this is the culture. And I guess then, yes, in the technology trying to solve lots of problems, but the culture needs to change.
No, I absolutely agree, and I also think that it's an interesting time, because I feel like nowadays we know that a lot of things are technically possible, but it just depends on, okay, how far governments or how far companies willing to go to actually make things transparent, or to
and this is another challenge as well here in the if the government wants to, and this is the second challenge. And I guess I believe that what will force the government to implement this kind of transparent is the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions?
Okay. And again, thank you so much.
I had a question, but I think what I'll do is just say, Robbie, have a tremendous amount of respect for you. You are a beautiful human being, and everything that you do, you just exude that. So thank you for what you do in the social impact space. It needs to be said.
Yes.
I appreciate y'all. No, one, I appreciate y'all both. I appreciate it, Rhonda, and I always, you know, I feel bad because even though I don't have the time as much, unfortunately, because I just be running ragged to talk with you all both, I am definitely keeping up with y'all. Don't ever think Don't ever think that I forgot about you, because I didn't. I'm watching y'all from afar, and I'm like, man, these two women are they're just going off, man. They're just doing so. Sometimes I'm like, how I gotta catch up with them.
No, you inspired us all, and I mean,
Yes.
we met, and we're all out. This is what we're supposed to do: go back out into the world and be the change that the world needs to see. We need to live it, speak it, and then just be unapologetic if it's going to be for the good of the world. And I think, I don't have many questions, but I wanted to make that comment.
No worries.
Thank you so much, Robbie, Randa, Pionka, for speaking, participating, attending the session. Much appreciated.
That was awesome, really.
Thank you so much, Pionka.
Presentation.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.